Hey there, this is Paul with ProShop. I want to talk to you today about work orders. There are few things that are more important to a machine shop or any manufacturing company than executing well on work orders. That's where you make your money. That's where you execute your jobs. In many companies, work orders are represented by a paper job traveler and a bunch of other paper documents that are sort of attached or put into a plastic sleeve that travel around the company physically, going from different desks to different machines. And that's how people know what they're supposed to work on. That's where they get their information from for their setup sheets, their tool lists, their work instructions. And there's a lot of inherent flaws and wastes around a paper-based system, including having them be lost, having them be potentially out of date or out of revision, getting all messed up, dirty, oil stained, having jotted notes that get lost that you never find again. So in ProShop, we take a fundamentally different approach to this. We use work orders completely digitally, and including all the related information that goes typically with that work order traveler packet. So I want to talk to you a little bit about work orders in this video. What we're looking at here is a work order. So this is the digital version of what you'd see in a paper traveler that moves around the shop floor. People will be accessing this through computer or tablets out at each machine or each workstation. And it will provide, and of course, the jobs will be physically labeled. So for traceability, that's very, very important. But besides the label identifying what it is, they're going to be looking into ProShop to get all the information they need. So let's take a tour around here. First of all, in this upper header information, we can see a lot of the kind of metadata or details about this work order, right? I can see what work order number, of course, I'm working on, the part number that it's for, including, a thumbnail picture of what it is we're making. We can see descriptions, who the client is. We can see the customer, purchase order and line item right here. We can see project codes if that's applicable. If it's a build to inventory order, that could be checked. Otherwise, this is going to be billed and shipped to the customer. We can tell our first article quality requirements for reporting. I can even see the latest drawing revision. So if I click this link right here, I can see that is the drawing that I'm working to. This drawing will always be the latest revision. There's no chance of someone accidentally pulling up and looking at the wrong revision of a drawing, which of course is possible with a paper version. The background color of this cell is green, indicating that we do have an approved drawing linked in. Now we can also access the part folder. ProShop creates folder structures for all the files related to your projects, for G-code, for drawings and CAD models, pictures, any other things related, bombs. We can see other details here, including another related work order, right? That this is run together. So we have two jobs we're running together as a bigger batch. ProShop is keeping track of all that. We know how many we've ordered, or the customer has ordered. We know how much material we're starting out with. We even see our current inventory for this part. So you can even see that I already have 6 on the shelf. So maybe I don't need to make all 10. I'll make 4 of them and pull some from the shelf, for example. You can see all of our dates. These are green, indicating that we're on time. I can see the date that it needs to leave to the customer, but I can also see the date that it's supposed to leave next, our facility next, in this case, to go to an outside process, which might take a week or more. I can see who the project manager is, planner programmers, other details here, including that this is an ITAR control job, and it's a serialized part number, which gives us the ability to serialize the parts that we're making as we start creating product on the shop floor. All of these icons here are indicating the status of the purchasing activity of everything that needs to happen for this part number, including raw materials, tooling, BOM items, outside processes. These colors will change as the purchasing activity progresses from being planned to being purchased to being received and released. This icon over here on the right shows me my time tracking. So I'll just pull this up for a second. We can see all the people that have worked on this job, what categories they've been working in, their start and ending times, what operations, if they're hitting time targets or not, if they've had to pause their time tracking. And this provides a nice detailed summary, which gets summarized graphically in this little graph right here. And I can see in this example, we're not doing well on this job. we've only completed about 34% of the job, but we've already spent 130% of the time budget, the entire time budget for the job. Now, ProShop would have been sending out alerts to people as this job started going over time budget in different categories and different operations, but we can see the reality of it right here. This section shows me the list of routing operations, and I can see what's been completed, what's still in process or not quite done yet. All of these operations have time date stamps, so we can see exactly who signed off the operations at what time and date. So we can see that we are, completed through the rough stock operations, and right now we're currently have a couple of parts, made through this machining operations here. You'll notice this certified to run column, it says 50%. That means we're partway done with getting these operations proved out and ready to turn over into production. If I click into an operation here, we can even see a little bit more detail about this. So I can see that this operation here, the first part buy off is actually done and good. That's why this is green, but the certified to run has not yet been completed. So maybe there's some additional steps we need to do before that's signed off. I can see here how much the target time is, how much time's been spent, both for inspection and for running and for the entire work order. Down here below, I can see some of the things that we call operation components. So let's say I wanted to look at my sort of written or setup description information. These are notes that are going to be, perhaps from the programmers, including or notes that maybe a machinist has put in, after it's been run a time or two, right? Including videos of how that job is supposed to be set up. It's very easy to add rich media in the form of text or videos or photos or attachments right here into ProShop. I can also start my time tracking. If I wanted to, start into a setup, I can click right here and initiate that time tracking. We can also do that through any of these card icons. So setup here, inspection right here. Let's say I was going to open up and look at my run description. This is the operator instructions for a machine operator, right? So they can see a step-by-step sequence of what's supposed to be happening here. And again, they can start tracking their time right here as well. I mentioned the first part sign off. Let's take a look at that. Inspection capability is built right into ProShop here. So we can define the inspection plans, and then we can execute those inspections in the form of doing a first article inspection report or in-process QC as we go. You'll notice that some of these cells have different colors. We see green, yellow, and red. This red one obviously indicates something is wrong here, like we have a bad measurement. In this case, it is out of tolerance. If I double click that field, it's going to bring up and show me the nonconformance report that was generated at the time that inspection report was done. So as soon as you put in a value that's out of tolerance, ProShop flags it and says, this is not a good result, not a good tolerance. Would you like to create a nonconformance report? And it inherits all the details about that work order, about that part, to make that very quickly and easily generated. And then at the same time, this nonconformance will trigger alerts to various people, perhaps a shift lead or a quality manager, so they can immediately be notified through our internal messaging system that just happened. All right. And then if I wanted to look at even what we call like a setup overview, looking at all of the details for this, including all the work holding details, including fixturing and fixtures that might be coming in from the fixture module. I can see all those. I can see what we call our sequence detail. So we can even pull up and look at specific cutting tools that might be needed for this part number, right? That feeds into the purchasing system. There's my setup instructions and more details beyond there. So really trying to provide, as much information right at the fingertips of those machinists so they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, when they go to set up that job. Let's come back here to the main work order. Another thing that that our customers find very, very useful is what we call our pre-processing checklist. How many times have you had people go out to do a job and they realize they don't have all the cutting tools, they don't have the right fixture, maybe the program isn't even done yet or the material isn't here? Through this use of this pre-processing checklist, we can define all the individual requirements for each operation, and the various sign-offs that need to be done to make sure this job goes according to plan and people have all the information they need and all the tools and everything they need when they go to do their job. So this is a completely configurable checklist. It's very, very useful to make sure that everything is prepared. When companies use this properly, they often will see setup times be reduced by as much as 50%, because everything is dialed in and that setup can proceed as smoothly as possible. When you have a situation where a machinist needs to provide some information back to the programmer, back to the project manager, back to sales perhaps, or estimating, we have a feature that we call process development. So let me click on that here. What this will allow us to do is have basically a direct traceable connection of communication from the shop floor up into the other departments. So we can see here that perhaps we needed to speed up the program because there was a bunch of slow cutting. It was assigned to me. When there's rev changes, we're going to, perhaps do some different things that it gets assigned to different people. If there, maybe a fixture needs some modifications, that can be tagged, by a machinist or someone on the shop floor. That will be identified, alerted to the person who is responsible for it, and then a workflow to work through having it be assigned, reviewed, successful, unsuccessful, identified, whatever that might be. And this provides a rich history of various improvement activities, troubleshooting things that have happened in the past. And this could be potentially over the course of months or years if this is a really mature part that we've done for a long time. So this is a very popular feature between CNC programmers and machinists. Once this job continues down the process, we're going to be doing things like shipping it to outside processing. So when that happens, we can go right into these operations here. We can issue purchase orders with a single button. We can even go look at the history of the purchasing status of this. So let's click on that for a second here. So I can see that these are the POs we've issued in the past, to the different vendors, with prices, totals, lead times, things of that sort. So that rich history is always right here available to us. But again, we can issue direct purchase orders right from here with a single click, excuse me. And then reconcile is also a really neat feature. Let's say you have a blanket order with a lot of future orders sort of on the books, and you're working on the first one or two, and you need to make a change to something. Maybe there's a new revision spec, and maybe a new way that you need to have it packaged. When we click this reconcile, ProShop will pull up all the outstanding work orders that are still yet to be done, and we can decide how we're going to reconcile and push that data forward from our sort of engineering part master into all the work orders that are going out into the future. So we can just click update and save ourselves potentially hours of time of updating manual documents. Of course, if you're doing it on paper, you'd have to chase down perhaps a dozen work order folders, pull the paper out, reprint it, mark it up, do whatever you had to do. Just an incredibly time-consuming process that we can essentially eliminate and make it done in minutes. When it comes time to prepare the document package for final shipments, we can pull this operation up. We can print box labels, UPC codes, but more importantly here, I'm going to generate our document package. So by clicking this button, ProShop is telling me all the requirements of this particular customer and this part number, right? They need a certificate of conformance and certs and first articles. And I'm going to click the print button here. ProShop's going to spawn a brand new tab, and it's going to go find all of the documents that are related to this part number. This might include the material certs that were scanned in at the receiving process. It might include the complete AS9102 first article report with all the fields already pre-filled, pre-checked off, right? We can see here, there's our form 1, here's our form 2. It's got our vendors, it's got our specs, it's got our cert numbers. Here's form 3 with the dimensional inspection. And then at the very bottom here, we're going to have a certificate of conformance already signed, pulling in all the supplier codes and processes at various revision levels. And then you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, ProShop is warning us with these little orange pop-ups that we are missing some certs, right? That it's expecting to find. Maybe we issued, a PO for some hardware or for some anodizing, but when the receiving process happened, someone forgot to scan in that cert. ProShop recognizes that it's missing and is going to warn us about it. And then this also works across multi-level BOMs. So if you are shipping a work order with an assembly with 100 different part numbers on it, and each part number has 3 different certs for material, hardware, and plating, right? That's going to be potentially a package of up to 300 certs and 100 different FAIs. ProShop will go find and retrieve and consolidate all of those into a single document package. We can combine them all into one PDF right here, or we can just copy everything into a folder and then upload it into our client's portal. So whether you're printing it off or just keeping it digital for upload, we have the options to do that. Ultimately, when we are completely done, we're going to, of course, create shipping documents. We're going to assign a packing slip right from here. Then we'll generate an invoice and we'll sync that across to QuickBooks or Sage or one of the other accounting products. And then finally, we are going to have some job costing. This job is not yet done, so I don't have a finalized number. I could always look at my temporary profit as we go, but let me just show you this tab here. Here is a job that was already fully completed, invoiced, and shipped, and there's a $ icon only for employees that are enabled to see this. In ProShop, we have very finite resolution about who can see what, and if we click on this button right here, this is going to generate a complete work order profitability summary, including with sub work orders if it is an assembly, and give us net profit for that entire job. So that's the stuff you need to know to make sure that you can, estimate your jobs properly, make sure that you know if you're executing, where the discrepancies might be, so you can really dial in and make sure that the profitability of all of your jobs is where you want them to be, which when that's done systematically can have a tremendous positive impact in overall company profitability. So anyway, thank you for watching this. I know it was a little bit of a long video. Hopefully that gives you some idea about how different it can be going to completely digital work orders from your paper-based system that you're probably dealing with today. So thank you very much, and please reach out if you'd like to learn more information.